Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a quick one because I just wanted to share my thoughts on something funny that I've been thinking about. It's been kind of tickling me. You know, hindsight is 2020. We don't need to talk about that year again. And if you're like me, the only 2020 you're getting out of any sight is this, unless you're getting LASIK. So with the combat patrol, there's been a lot of discussion, or the new combat patrol being announced. There's been a lot of discussion on is it worth it? And I already did a video on if the combat patrol itself, in my opinion, is worth it. I think it depends on your collection. I think it's fine. I just don't understand the parasite of Mortrex, right? Um, but past that, I want to talk about a specific unit in this. As I was on Reddit, right? And there's been a bunch of new players asking the same question: should I get the box? Is it worth it? Da 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 da. That's like every third thread or whatever. It's not that much, but I saw it like every other day when I opened up Reddit. Unfortunately, I do sometimes open up Reddit. That said though, it's about the Tyrant Guard. A lot of people have been like, yeah, but the Tyrant Guard have play in Assimilation Swarm. And that's kind of where people have been saying it forever, right? Since we've had Assimilation Swarm, we've been like, yeah, you could put the Tyrant Guard in there. And, just a refresher, the Tyrant Guard are TA, 3 up save, 4 wound, infantry, right? They're perfectly fine. They have Guardian Organism while a character model is leading this unit. That character has the Feel No Pain 5 up ability. All perfectly cute, cool, whatever, right? And we know that we've attached the Tyrant Guard to Hive Tyrant, Neuro Tyrant, and Swarm Lord to take the, assimilation swarm, spiel that we've done. We've, had to take them as leaders. But we didn't have to. I've been cracking up because I've really been trying to figure out to myself, why did we do that? Nobody gains much from this happening. The Tyrant Guard don't get anything for attaching to the Hive Tyrant or to swarming. And you could go, hey, but that frees up command points for you. The old Hive Tyrant, I already was doing that. And then Swarmy give you the bonus command point. You could just do that. And then I was like, yeah, you could have done that. Old Swarmy was 240, right? And Hive Tyrant was 225 last go around. Um, but why did we do that, right? Like, genuinely think about it for a second. What if I just used 240 points to do something else? What if I just used 225 to do something else? Which was like really funny to me because at least in the case of the Neurotyrant, right? Let's open up the Neurotyrant. Didn't really go plan to go about here, right? But it is kind of funny that, well, at least with the Neurotyrant, you get something. With no less, while this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. If the target is battle shocked, add 1 to the wound roll. We could have just spammed the Neurotyrant, 3 times over, as we've seen recently with with an individual's subterranean assault list with 3 think tanks, Neurotyrant and the Zoes. But really thinking about it, we could have saved like I wouldn't say a lot of points because you were still probably taking the Hive Tyrant. Or not, right? Like, we could have gone with the Winged Hive Tyrant and saved quite a bit of points with Swarmy. Now, don't get me wrong. There are good things for them having ablative wounds to get up there, right? You know, you would let Swarmy survive to get up the battlefield. Um, and put out malign presence if the small is your warlord. Each time your opponent targets a unit from their army with a stratagem, if that unit is within a foot of this small, increase the cost of the use of that stratagem by 1 command point. That's fine. Well, we're still seeing that being thrown up the tables with subterranean assault. Go through a tunnel, put them out there. That's fine. Um, but for the longest time, I think we can all agree that our melee profile isn't the best thing to write home about. Like, I'm not dying to get the Swarm Lord and the Hive Tyrant and a Hive Tyrant into combat. Like, that's not my top priority. Now, mind you, I am biased on that because I do still always vie for the heavy Venom Cannon Hive Tyrant. Some people do like the 10 attacks full melee loadout for the Hive Tyrant. Or for the Walkrent, just so we're not confused, right? Some people do like that. The other reason I hate that is because then you just sacrifice Onslaught for yourself, like straight up all the way. That's just personal flavor. I don't knock you if you do, just not for me. Onslaught, while a friendly Tyranids unit is within 6 inches of this model, ranged weapons equipped by models in that unit have assault and lethal hits. I put emphasis on that because I do see a lot of new players confuse it and just give everything lethal hits, like the Tyrant Guard. So, again, the Tyrant Guard get absolutely no benefit from being attached to them because they have only melee weapons. And Swarmy says, "Fuck you, I'm here by myself. I really don't give a shit if there's Tyrant Guard around me." So I was really laughing about that. And you'd go, well, like in Assimilation Swarm, they have to be attached to do something, right? I'm like, no, not really. I mean, if you want to give the enhancements, but again, truth be told, the only one worth really trying to give that enhancement is instinctive defense. Uh, you're not looking for the damage output of Tyrant Guard. It's really not happening. Now, you can take my word for it. You could not. You could take the word of pretty much anybody else that plays 18 Tyrant Guard on the table. You're not looking for them to actually do damage. So parasitic biomorphology is cute. Uh, but that's not priority. Just to go over it, instinctive defense. Oh, and regenerated monstrosity still pisses me off because you can't put it on monsters, so you can't put it on a hive tyrant to put it on Tyrant Guard. But instinctive defense. Tyranids model only while the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more friendly harvester units. You can target the bearer's unit with the heroic intervention stratagem for free. Well, sorry, for 0 command points. In addition, while the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more friendly harvester units, models in the bearer's unit have fights first. So that's pretty good, just to survive a bit longer, and to give you some extra movement because you are slow. And that's where I want to talk about uh, another one of the drawbacks of why attaching that might have even been worse for us. Like, you might have just had a better time not attaching them, because, well, Hive Tyrant and Swarm Lord are monsters. Tyrant Guard are infantry. So what would happen is that to maintain coherency, uh, Swarmy and the Hive Tyrant gotta walk the fuck around the ruin, while the Tyrant Guard can go through it because it's on a per model basis. Um, so imagine if you didn't have to do that extra jank of trying to get them around the fucking ruin and having more points. Like, it's kind of funny that, again, I'm not knocking the build. I don't want to say that it was worthless or anything. Like, we did fine with it. But I think we overestimated how much we needed to do that. I think it was somebody's idea. Um, I would give the credit where I thought it's due. But just to be on the safe side, in case somebody else pops out, is like, no, they weren't the first. It was this one GT in Lithuania. I don't know. That it all started from. But it, I, I just think, in hindsight, would we have been better off? I don't know, placing what 240, uh, more psychophages, right? Like, would we have been better off if instead of Swarm Lord we had like 2 more psychophages and another Ripper? Would we have been better off if we used an Exocrine and a Psychophage? Right, something like that. Maybe you free up enough points and you drop the Walkrent to a Flyrant and what's that, 2 Exocrines? Old points, right? 135 at the time, 270, 240. then 225 to what was the Flyrant at the time? Was the Flyrant 190? Was it 200? I don't know. Well, anyway, I want to say it's 200, right? Whatever. The point being, maybe you could have just made the list more effective if we more. I say more effective. That's a bit harsh. Maybe we could have made it more varied, better output. I don't know, something. If we switched out of that, because again, going back to assimilation swarm, let me not stop at the enhancements. And I guess I should still read parasitic biomorphology in case you're curious. 25 points, Tyranids model only. Add one to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit. The first time the bearer's unit destroys an enemy unit in the fight phase, while the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more friendly harvester units until the end of the battle. Add one to the attack's characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit. No, that's cute. Also, the detachment. The reason that we did Tyrant Guard, I should say that, my bad. Because they're infantry, and you could just straight up bring back an infantry model, and they have 4 wounds in their T8, which is pretty nice to bring back. But yeah, none of this shit required it to be attached, so it's kind of funny in hindsight that if anything, if you still wanted to bring them both, right? And you weren't going out of your way for the enhancement, which I want to say a lot of people didn't. Like, yeah, it was nice when you had points left over. It's like, all right, fine, I'll put instinctive defense on the Hive Tyrant. But it wasn't ever plan A. At least not last I checked. Now, I know some people may feel differently about that. But again, you weren't looking to do damage with the Tyrant Guard and Hive Tyrant. Now, mind you, I guess you could all chalk it up to, well, everything is like, why'd you do that anyway? You didn't have to bring a third brick of Tyrant Guard anyway. You didn't have to do that, and you know, if you're going to do it, you might as well attach a Hive Tyrant. But it kind of just gave a lot of downsides because then now you can get shot by both anti-infantry and anti-monster. Precision now does a thing. You had the movement thing I talked about with the ruins and having to go around. So if anything, in hindsight, there was a lot of negatives for the possibility of spending 15 more points for a fight's first unit while being around a harvester. Um, so I'm just saying, maybe the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Maybe the biomass wasn't worth the effort. In hindsight, again, it's all in hindsight. And, we did fine enough with it. We weren't knocking down every super major, but we had a few decent placements with the build. The top 8 in a super major. I'm trying to remember which one. Actually, I think it was 2. Um, but yeah, it's kind of funny. Now, you see, I have another tab open where I'm going to say now the combat patrol does make even less sense. Maybe not less sense, but going more to the combat patrol is weird, right? I just talked all about this shit about, well, maybe, you know, that's why they put Parasite of Martrek. Maybe you don't need a Brew Lord for your Gene Stealers. You do. Uh, nah, you don't really, because effectively this is two units of Gene Stealers, whatever. But like, out of all the leaders they picked, it's Parasite of Mortrek, so unless we get a rules update, it kind of just makes no sense here, right? But they also didn't put a Hive Tyrant or Swarmy to lead the Tyrant Guard, and they also didn't put a Neuro Tyrant. They should put Neuro Tyrants in things because people would like access to Neuro Tyrants. Gotta admit, I said something on video one time because I had checked like a month or two earlier, and I don't know. It looks like all the cheap neurotyrants have been found, and I haven't seen more come up since then. So yeah, it'd be nice if they put the neurotyrant in more things. Hello, that GW people would like to buy the neurotyrant, make it more available instead of just the fucking box and some bullshit. So yeah, but box doesn't make sense. The only time attaching them to me now makes sense thinking about it. Maybe not only time. I guess there's again going back to if you want to put enhancements on the Tyrant Guard that bad. But Synaptic Nexus. We saw this build come out, and, you know, now that the unit is Synapse because they are attached to Synapse creatures, right? Synapse, got it down here. Synapse, right? Now that they're attached to Synapse, they can utilize some of the things in Synaptic Nexus, such as Reinforced Hive Node. One Synapse unit now, works in that AP. They couldn't do it without being attached, because it's the Synapse unit, not a unit within Synapse. Such as Imperative Dominance. We're looking at Reinforced Hive Node, one Synapse unit, Smothering Shadow, one Synapse unit, Synaptic Channeling, Irresistible Will. In Synaptic Nexus, it made sense that you kind of had to attach them to things. Um, and it's just not the dog. Again, I don't want anybody to sit here and be like, man, he really hated that Assimilation Swarm build. It's just funny thinking about it that now that we're not doing it as often, I guess we didn't have to, huh? I guess we really didn't have to. So, don't need to yap any further on it, really. Just wanted to share something funny. Something that I found funny is that, in hindsight, we really did need to attach them as often as we did for the Assimilation Swarm build. But yeah, Combat Patrol is still weird. Attach if you want, that's all you to do you. I'm just saying, thinking about it a little bit more, we really didn't have to. So yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment from me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.